I'm Jenna Harris, I'm 34, and when my cheating ex-boyfriend, Jake, had the audacity to try coming back into my life, while already engaged, I made sure his new fiancée knew exactly who he really was. If you've ever faced something similar, someone betraying you and trying to crawl back, comment below and subscribe. Let's not let them get away with it in silence. My story begins in a modest suburban neighborhood, a picturesque little spot in Asheville, North Carolina. Our streets were lined with charming houses, where neighbors greeted each other every morning, and children rode bikes freely until dusk. My parents, hardworking and fiercely loyal, raised me to believe in love and honesty, to respect others, and above all, to never settle for less than what I deserved. Perhaps that's why Jake's betrayal hurt so deeply. I trusted him more than anyone. Jake and I first met at a networking event for young professionals. He was tall, handsome, charismatic, the kind of guy whose confidence filled a room. When he approached me, his smile was intoxicating. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, as though we'd known each other forever. Jake pursued me relentlessly after that evening, showering me with thoughtful gestures, flowers, surprise dinner dates, texts that made my heart flutter in the middle of a mundane workday. It felt like a dream. I thought, maybe this is finally the person who sees me, truly and fully. Our relationship quickly blossomed. We spent weekends hiking the Blue Ridge trails, cooking elaborate meals together, and talking late into the night. He integrated seamlessly into my family. My parents adored him, especially my father, who saw Jake as the perfect future son-in-law. Jake was charmingly persuasive, easily winning hearts wherever he went. A year in, Jake suggested we move in together. Ecstatic, I agreed, imagining a beautiful life unfolding before us. We found a quaint little apartment downtown, decorated it lovingly, and settled into what I thought was domestic bliss. Little did I know, the foundation of my dream was already cracking. The first sign was subtle, a whispered phone call he abruptly ended when I walked into the room, followed by an unconvincing explanation. Then came late nights at work, more frequent and prolonged. Jake's phone began buzzing constantly, lighting up at odd hours, always face down. When I asked, he'd brush it off, calling me paranoid. But my intuition screamed louder with each passing day. Then came the night everything shattered. Jake claimed he was working late again, and unable to shake the nagging feeling, I found myself driving to his office building. My stomach twisted into knots as I spotted his car parked outside, not at his workplace, but at a trendy restaurant across town. Inside, amidst the low lighting and romantic ambience, I saw him, laughing, touching hands across a candlelit table, completely unaware of my presence. The woman he was with was beautiful, elegant, radiant in ways I suddenly felt I wasn't. Numbness filled me, freezing me in place, but also a clarity I'd never experienced before. As I left the restaurant, tears blinding me, my heart felt irreparably broken. The betrayal was more profound because Jake had seemed so sincere, so genuinely caring, that even now, seeing him with another woman felt surreal. Confronting him later that night, he gaslit me expertly, blaming my insecurities, accusing me of misunderstanding the situation. But the damage was done, I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. I packed my belongings and moved back in with my parents, devastated, ashamed, and feeling foolish for ever trusting him. Jake moved on quickly, openly flaunting his new relationship, clearly choosing her without remorse or hesitation. My family supported me, their love a quiet anchor as I struggled to regain confidence in myself. Every night I replayed scenarios in my head, torturing myself with questions. Was I not enough? How could I have missed the signs? Did I push him away? Slowly, painfully, I rebuilt my life. I found solace in work, poured myself into new projects, and gradually remembered who I was, someone worthy of respect, loyalty, and genuine love. Months turned into a year, and just when I finally felt ready to move forward, my phone buzzed with a message I never expected. Jenna, I miss you. Can we talk? The words felt unreal, impossibly cruel, dredging up old wounds. I nearly deleted the message without responding, but curiosity and lingering hurt compelled me to reply. What could you possibly have to say to me? His response came quickly, infused with desperation. I made a mistake. I still love you. I stared at the screen, incredulous. Love? How could he even say that word after everything? After a few deep breaths, I replied coldly, aren't you with someone else? Jake dodged the question, pushing further. Can we meet? I need to explain. Against my better judgment, curiosity got the better of me. Maybe a part of me wanted closure or answers I thought I deserved. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe downtown, a neutral ground, safe from painful memories of our shared past. Sitting across from him again after so long, I felt detached, as if watching myself from outside my body. Jake launched into an apology, confessing how unhappy he was, how wrong he'd been. The woman I'd seen him with, Marissa, was now his fiancée, but according to Jake, it was rushed, impulsive, and now deeply regretted. I listened silently, heart-hardened by his selfishness. "Do you expect me to pity you, Jake?" I finally asked, voice shaking with controlled anger. "No, Jenna," he pleaded, his eyes wide, imploring. "I just realized how good I had it with you. I miss us." Something clicked inside me. His apology wasn't about me, it was entirely about him, his regrets, his desire to feel better. My value had never been clearer, and I suddenly knew exactly how to handle him. "You had everything," I told him, coldly calm. "You chose to destroy it." Leaving that cafe, determination surged within me. Jake had betrayed me, now betraying someone else. Marissa deserved the truth. If he was capable of reaching out to an ex while engaged, what else was he capable of? My heart broke again, this time not for myself, but for the woman unknowingly stepping into a future filled with lies. Finding Marissa wasn't difficult, social media made it easy. Her profile depicted a joyful woman, in love and excitedly planning a wedding. I hesitated momentarily, aware I might shatter her happiness. But I knew firsthand that ignorance wasn't bliss. It was only delayed devastation. I messaged her gently, clearly outlining my relationship with Jake, his infidelity, and his recent attempt to reconcile with me. I provided screenshots, evidence to back up every painful truth. Marissa's response broke my heart even further. She was blindsided, devastated, but grateful. "I had suspicions," she wrote, her heartbreak palpable through the screen. "Thank you for giving me clarity." Days later, she confronted Jake, ending their engagement publicly and definitively. Jake's charming facade shattered, revealing to everyone exactly who he was, a selfish, manipulative man unwilling to face the consequences of his actions. For me, it wasn't about revenge, not exactly. It was about reclaiming my power, refusing to be a silent victim of betrayal. In that act of honesty, I found a profound sense of peace, of self-worth restored. Marissa and I remained in contact briefly, two women bonded by unfortunate circumstances, both determined never to accept less than we deserved again. Jake disappeared from my life completely after that, humiliated and disgraced, but his exit left no emptiness. Instead, it made space for new beginnings, genuine connections, and a deeper understanding of my own worth. Sometimes, the most meaningful revenge is simply standing firm, refusing to accept dishonesty, and knowing your value so completely that betrayal loses its power. This was my victory, not just over Jake, but over my own insecurities, proving once and for all that I was always enough. After Jake's public breakup with Marissa, I thought I'd feel triumphant or relieved. Instead, I felt an unsettling quiet, like the calm after a storm. The satisfaction of exposing Jake's lies faded quickly, leaving me to face the quiet, persistent ache of having been betrayed in the first place. What I didn't anticipate was the ripple effect my actions would cause, or the challenges I'd face in rediscovering who I was without the shadow of my past relationship. Word traveled fast. Friends and acquaintances who'd been distant during my relationship with Jake suddenly reappeared in my life. Texts and calls flooded my phone, each voice echoing similar sentiments. "I'm so sorry, Jenna. I always thought something was off about him. I wish I'd said something sooner." Their words, though meant to comfort, only intensified my isolation. How many people had seen through him when I hadn't? My parents, who had been quietly supportive throughout my turmoil, never openly judged my choices, but the sadness in their eyes was unmistakable. Sitting in their kitchen one evening, stirring my tea absent-mindedly, I finally broke the silence. "Did you always suspect Jake wasn't right for me?" I asked softly, afraid of the answer but needing to hear it anyway. My mother hesitated, carefully choosing her words. "We wanted you to see it yourself, sweetheart. You needed to make your own choices. And your own mistakes," my father added gently. "No one can protect you from everything." They were right, of course. I had to learn the hard way. It wasn't the betrayal itself that hurt most, but the sense that I'd lost trust in my own judgment. How could I trust myself again after choosing someone like Jake? Determined to rebuild from the inside out, I threw myself into work. As a project manager at a marketing firm, my professional life became my sanctuary. Deadlines, presentations, client meetings, each task provided welcome distractions from painful self-reflection. But distraction wasn't healing, and I soon found myself drained, unable to maintain the facade of normalcy. One evening after another grueling workday, Zoe, a close friend from college, called unexpectedly. Her voice, warm and familiar, pierced through the isolation I'd wrapped around myself. "Jenna, I heard what happened. Are you okay?" Her simple question broke the dam I'd carefully constructed. Tears poured down my face, choking my voice as I admitted the truth for the first time. "No, Zoe, I'm not okay." Without hesitation, she said, "I'm coming over right now." True to her word, Zoe arrived within minutes, armed with ice cream, wine, and tissues. We sat together in my dimly lit living room, surrounded by the cluttered reminders of my solitary life. With Zoe, I finally allowed myself to unravel, confessing everything I'd hidden beneath forced smiles. "I just feel lost," I admitted, voice trembling. "I don't trust myself anymore. Jake made me doubt everything about who I am." Zoe placed a comforting hand on mine, her eyes gentle yet fiercely protective. "Jenna, Jake's betrayal doesn't define you. His actions reveal his flaws, not yours." "Then why do I feel so stupid? Like I failed at something basic, choosing someone decent?" She shook her head firmly. "You didn't fail. You were brave enough to trust someone completely. That's strength, Jenna, even if it led to hurt this time." Her words resonated deeply. It wasn't weakness that led me to love openly, it was courage. But now, finding that courage again felt impossible. Weeks turned into months, and despite my outward progress, I was excelling at work, reconnecting with old friends. I still carried a deep sense of emptiness. The pain had dulled, but my emotional walls remained firmly intact, especially when it came to dating again. One afternoon, while grabbing coffee after a particularly stressful client meeting, I bumped into someone from my past, Ryan McAllister, a friend from high school I hadn't seen in years. He smiled warmly, instantly recognizable despite the time apart. "Jenna Harris, is that you?" "Ryan," I said, surprised and genuinely pleased. "How have you been?" We chatted easily, quickly filling in gaps from the years apart. Ryan worked as a software developer, had recently moved back to Asheville after years away, and seemed genuinely interested in catching up more. Before parting, he asked hesitantly, "Would you want to grab dinner sometime?" No pressure, just two old friends reconnecting. Despite initial reservations, I surprised myself by agreeing. Perhaps reconnecting with Ryan, someone grounded in my past, could help me regain my footing in the present. Our first dinner was casual, relaxed, and surprisingly enjoyable. We reminisced, laughed about our awkward teenage years, and talked openly about our lives now. Ryan, unlike Jake, listened without agenda, genuinely engaged. It felt refreshing, safe, like I could slowly lower my defenses without fear of betrayal. Dinner became coffee dates, casual hikes, and spontaneous weekend adventures. Ryan was patient, never pushing beyond what I was comfortable with, respecting the cautious pace I set. Slowly, trust began to blossom between us, a fragile, precious thing I guarded fiercely. Yet just as I felt ready to open up more, another unexpected encounter rattled my newfound peace. While attending a networking event, I spotted Jake across the room. My stomach lurched, heart pounding fiercely in my chest. He looked different, diminished somehow, less confident, less sure of himself. Marissa's public rejection had clearly humbled him, and I felt a petty but satisfying sense of justice. Jake approached cautiously, eyes wary yet hopeful. "Jenna," he began softly, "it's been a long time." My voice remained steady, colder than I'd ever heard it. "Not long enough." He winced visibly. "Look, I know I messed up badly. What I did was unforgivable, but..." "Then don't expect forgiveness," I interrupted sharply, finally understanding that forgiveness wasn't something I owed him. "Your apologies mean nothing because they're always about easing your guilt, not addressing the pain you caused." "You're right," Jake admitted quietly, for the first time without excuses. "I'm trying to change, Jenna. I really am." "Then I wish you luck, Jake," I replied firmly, genuine in my detachment. "But that doesn't involve me anymore." Walking away felt freeing, final, the ultimate closure I'd been seeking. Jake no longer had power over me. I reclaimed my strength by refusing to engage in his emotional manipulation. That night, recounting the encounter to Ryan, I felt lighter, hopeful. Ryan listened patiently, his eyes gentle but protective. "You handled it perfectly," he said finally. "You're stronger than you realize." My heart stirred at his words, realizing something fundamental had shifted inside me. I'd spent months rebuilding my self-worth, relearning trust, and now I finally saw that my past trauma didn't have to define my future. Ryan became more than just a friend. He became someone who understood my scars but never judged them, someone who patiently showed me what real honesty, respect, and emotional safety felt like. Eventually, our relationship deepened naturally, organically. It wasn't based on grand romantic gestures or perfect appearances, but rather on mutual respect, genuine care, and open communication. With Ryan, I finally experienced the peace of authentic love, the kind I'd always hoped for but had mistakenly sought in Jake. Despite my initial heartbreak, Jake's betrayal became an essential turning point. Without it, I wouldn't have learned to recognize the strength in vulnerability, the importance of setting boundaries, or the courage it took to trust again. I had come full circle, from pain to empowerment, betrayal to genuine intimacy. Jake's attempt to reclaim what he lost became my catalyst for reclaiming myself. His actions didn't destroy me, they reshaped me into someone stronger, wiser, and far more resilient than I ever imagined possible. The sweetest revenge wasn't just exposing Jake, it was discovering that I'd never needed him to feel whole in the first place. I had always been enough, exactly as I was. As the months with Ryan unfolded, my life began to feel genuinely stable for the first time in years. Slowly, the protective walls I'd built after Jake's betrayal crumbled, allowing Ryan deeper into my life. His presence felt steady, reassuring, unlike anything I'd experienced before. Yet even with this newfound happiness, remnants of old wounds occasionally surfaced, testing the strength of my progress. One sunny afternoon, my friend Zoe organized a small gathering at her family's lakeside cabin. It was a picturesque spot, surrounded by trees whose leaves whispered gently in the breeze, their reflection shimmering on the calm water. Ryan and I joined the small group of close friends, all sharing laughter, food, and casual conversations. For the first time in ages, I felt truly connected and at peace. Yet just as I began to relax, a familiar voice sliced through the calm. Across the yard, in conversation with Zoe's cousin, stood Jake. The shock froze me in place, breath catching painfully in my chest. Even from a distance, his presence unsettled the careful peace I'd nurtured. Ryan, sensing my sudden stiffness, placed a protective arm around my shoulders, concern evident in his voice. "Are you all right?" "Jake's here," I whispered, barely audible, heart pounding relentlessly. Ryan glanced over, recognizing Jake immediately from my previous description. "Do you want to leave?" he asked gently, already stepping slightly in front of me, subtly shielding me from view. I hesitated, conflicted. Leaving felt like surrendering power, giving Jake control yet again. But staying meant facing a ghost I wasn't entirely sure I'd conquered. "No," I said finally, determination edging my voice. "I'm done running from him." Taking a deep breath, I approached Zoe, quietly pulling her aside. "Did you know Jake was coming?" Her eyes widened apologetically. "No, Jenna. I swear, I had no idea. He came with my cousin's friend. Should I ask him to leave?" "No, it's fine," I insisted, not wanting to make a scene. "I can handle it." Jake inevitably noticed me, our eyes briefly locking across the yard. His expression flickered with surprise, guilt, and perhaps lingering regret, but I forced myself to remain impassive. I wouldn't let him see my lingering pain or vulnerability. My life no longer revolved around his actions or opinions. However, it seemed Jake was intent on confrontation. Approaching cautiously, he paused a respectful distance away, awkwardly trying to smile. "Hey Jenna, it's unexpected seeing you here." "Likewise," I replied coolly, maintaining composure despite the internal turmoil. Jake glanced at Ryan, clearly noticing our closeness, his expression shifting subtly. "I'm Jake," he introduced himself, extending a hand politely to Ryan. "Ryan," came the steady reply, his handshake firm but brief. The silence following their brief introduction felt oppressive until Jake broke it awkwardly. "Can we talk, Jenna? Privately?" "No," I said, voice steady. "Anything you have to say can be said here." He hesitated, shifting uneasily. "I just wanted you to know I'm genuinely sorry for everything. I've been getting help, working on myself." I realize now how badly I messed things up. Part of me wanted to dismiss his words outright, to shield myself from further manipulation, but something in his tone seemed different, perhaps sincere. "Jake, if you're truly sorry, then use it to become better. But your apologies mean nothing unless you change your actions," I responded calmly. "I've moved forward. I suggest you do the same." Ryan squeezed my hand gently, silently communicating his support. Jake finally nodded, resignation clear in his posture. "Fair enough. Take care of yourself, Jenna." Watching him walk away felt surreal. No heated arguments, no emotional outburst, just quiet acceptance. This encounter felt different, less charged. Perhaps closure didn't always need to involve grand gestures, sometimes it was found in quiet, definitive endings. Later, as evening settled over the lake, Ryan and I wandered down to the dock, finding comfort in the peaceful isolation from the group. We sat together, our feet dipping lightly into the cool water. The horizon glowed softly with hues of pink and purple, painting the sky as the sun set. A peaceful silence settled between us, only broken when Ryan finally spoke. "How are you really feeling?" he asked softly, his voice full of understanding. "Relieved," I admitted honestly. Seeing Jake again was unsettling, but somehow necessary. It reminded me of how far I've come. I'm not the person he hurt anymore. "You've grown so much, Jenna. You're stronger and wiser." "I see it every day," Ryan said warmly, gently taking my hand. "You deserve peace and happiness." His sincerity brought tears to my eyes, and I leaned against his shoulder, feeling safe and supported in ways I hadn't before. "You know," I said softly, "for a long time I worried I'd never trust anyone again. You've changed that." Ryan smiled softly, gently kissing the top of my head. "You did that, Jenna. You found the strength to trust again." As we sat quietly, watching the last rays of sunlight fade, I felt a sense of peace settle deeply within me. I'd finally reached a point where my past no longer dictated my future. Jake's betrayal, while devastating, had ultimately led me here, stronger, wiser, and capable of genuine happiness. Weeks turned into months, and my relationship with Ryan flourished steadily. We spent time exploring new hobbies, traveling, and deepening our connection. He met my family, effortlessly charming them with his kindness and sincerity. My parents adored him, recognizing the authenticity in him they'd never fully seen in Jake. Yet despite all this progress, shadows of self-doubt lingered occasionally. A part of me still feared making another mistake, repeating history. One night, when anxiety overwhelmed me, I finally voiced these fears to Ryan, vulnerable in my honesty. "What if I'm still not seeing clearly?" I admitted quietly, unable to meet his eyes. "What if history repeats itself?" Ryan gently cupped my face, forcing me to meet his steady gaze. "Jenna, no one can promise life won't hurt again. But this time, you're stronger. You've learned to trust your instincts. And if you're ever unsure, I promise to be honest, even when it's hard." His unwavering sincerity comforted me deeply, solidifying my trust in both him and myself. I realized then, love didn't guarantee a painless future. It promised partnership, honesty, and strength to overcome challenges together. This newfound clarity profoundly impacted every aspect of my life. My relationships grew stronger, my work flourished, and for the first time, I felt confident making decisions solely based on my happiness, rather than fear or obligation. Eventually, Ryan proposed during a quiet weekend getaway. Surrounded by nature, he knelt beneath a canopy of trees, asking gently, "Jenna, you've shown me true strength, vulnerability, and resilience. Would you let me spend the rest of my life learning with you, loving you, and growing together?" Emotion overwhelmed me, tears streaming down my cheeks as I accepted wholeheartedly. This moment wasn't simply romantic, it represented true partnership, genuine commitment, and mutual respect born from shared understanding. Planning our wedding felt deeply meaningful. It wasn't just a celebration of love, but a tribute to our individual journeys and collective growth. Every decision, from the venue to vows, reflected authenticity, trust, and resilience, the cornerstones of our relationship. Finally, standing together before friends and family, exchanging vows under soft sunlight, I felt profoundly grateful for every challenge I'd faced. Without Jake's betrayal, I might never have discovered true strength or the courage to embrace vulnerability again. After the ceremony, Zoe hugged me tightly, whispering tearfully, "I'm so proud of you, Jenna. You've grown into someone truly amazing." Smiling, I squeezed her tightly, knowing her words were genuine. She'd witnessed my darkest moments and celebrated my greatest triumphs, consistently reminding me I deserved happiness. That evening, as Ryan and I danced slowly beneath the stars, I whispered softly into his ear, "Thank you for reminding me of my worth." He smiled gently, replying sincerely, "Your worth was never lost, Jenna. I simply helped you rediscover it." As we swayed gently, surrounded by warmth and genuine happiness, I knew I'd truly achieved emotional vindication. Revenge wasn't about hurting Jake or punishing betrayal, it was reclaiming self-worth, embracing growth, and ultimately allowing myself the happiness I'd always deserved. I had finally learned life's most valuable lesson: true revenge was living authentically, loving deeply, and refusing ever to settle for anything less than respect, honesty, and genuine happiness. As the months after our wedding unfolded, my life with Ryan grew deeper and more meaningful. Settling into our cozy house on the outskirts of Asheville, we built routines filled with warmth and genuine connection. Weekends spent gardening in the backyard, evenings cooking dinner together, and quiet moments sipping coffee on our porch. Each simple joy felt profound, earned through years of healing and self-discovery. Yet, even in the peace we had carefully cultivated, echoes of my past occasionally resurfaced, testing the resilience of the happiness I'd built. It was a rainy Wednesday afternoon when an unexpected knock startled me from my work. Opening the door, my heart nearly stopped. Standing there was Marissa, Jake's former fiancée, whom I hadn't seen since revealing Jake's true nature to her over a year ago. She appeared slightly anxious, clutching a purse tightly to her chest, looking unsure whether I'd even welcome her inside. "Marissa," I said softly, surprise evident in my voice. "This is unexpected. Is everything all right?" She hesitated, her eyes filled with uncertainty, before answering quietly, "I'm sorry for showing up unannounced, Jenna. I didn't have your number and wasn't sure how else to reach you. But I think you're the only person who might understand." Her vulnerability softened any initial reservation I felt. Without hesitation, I invited her inside. We settled in my cozy living room, rain pattering softly against the windows, creating a strangely comforting backdrop to the tension between us. After a few uncomfortable moments, Marissa finally spoke, her voice trembling slightly. "Jenna, first, I owe you an apology. I was so blindsided when you reached out before, and it hurt deeply. But now, after everything, I realize you did me a tremendous favor." "I'm sorry it hurt you," I replied gently, understanding how painful truth could sometimes be. "But you deserved honesty." She nodded slowly, her expression solemn. "After ending things with Jake, I spiraled for a while. He tried manipulating me, blaming you, claiming lies. But deep down, I knew the truth, even when it hurt." Her words echoed painfully, reminding me vividly of my own experiences. "I'm sorry, Marissa. He did that to me, too." Jake was a master at twisting reality. Marissa exhaled slowly, relief evident. "Exactly. That's why I needed to see you. I feel like everyone thinks I'm exaggerating or imagining things. He's still so charming publicly, and most people believe him over me." The familiar sting of injustice surged within me, recalling my own isolation after Jake's betrayal. "People who haven't experienced it don't understand," I agreed softly. "Jake's charm blinds people. It's incredibly isolating to be the only one who sees through it." Her eyes filled with grateful tears, realizing finally she wasn't alone. "I spent months feeling crazy, Jenna, doubting myself. Only now am I starting to feel steady again." "I understand," I assured her earnestly. "Recovering from emotional manipulation isn't linear, it takes time and a lot of patience with yourself." She smiled faintly, relief softening her tense expression. "I've been in therapy, rebuilding slowly. But it helps tremendously knowing someone truly understands." We spent the afternoon sharing stories, finding surprising comfort and validation in each other's experiences. Marissa had moved to Charlotte, started a new career, and was cautiously optimistic about dating again. Yet, like me, trust came slowly, each step forward shadowed by lingering fear. Before leaving, she hesitated again, clearly struggling with something. "Jenna, this might sound strange after everything we've been through, but could we keep in touch occasionally? You're one of the few people who truly gets it." The sincerity of her request touched me deeply. "Absolutely, Marissa. Sometimes shared pain builds the strongest bonds." After she left, I sat quietly, reflecting on our unexpected encounter. While seeing Marissa had stirred old memories, it also reinforced how much I'd grown. Helping her, even slightly, validated my journey. It made the pain I'd endured feel purposeful rather than senseless. Later, as Ryan and I cooked dinner, I recounted my meeting with Marissa. He listened thoughtfully, his support unwavering. "You've become a source of strength for others, Jenna. Your pain wasn't wasted, it became a guide for someone else." His words resonated deeply, shifting my perspective further. Pain didn't simply shape us, it allowed us to extend compassion and understanding in ways we otherwise couldn't. Several months passed uneventfully until one afternoon, another unexpected challenge arose. I was browsing social media when a mutual friend's post stopped me cold. Jake had announced his candidacy for local city council. His campaign platform revolved around honesty, integrity, and community, ironic given his history. Seeing him publicly portray himself as a paragon of integrity stirred a deep sense of injustice within me. My heart ached, not just for myself, but for Marissa, and potentially others unaware of his manipulative nature. Feeling compelled, I reached out to Marissa immediately. She, too, had seen the announcement, sharing my deep concern. "He shouldn't be in a position of power," she said vehemently, anger evident in her voice. "I agree," I replied resolutely. "But I'm not sure what we can do." Publicly confronting him risks backlash, especially given his skill at manipulating narratives. Marissa hesitated, finally admitting quietly, "Maybe we owe it to the community to share our stories. If people still choose him afterward, at least we've done what we could." The thought frightened me, yet the importance of the truth outweighed my fear. After lengthy discussions, we decided to share our experiences carefully and factually through a combined statement online, detailing Jake's manipulative behavior without unnecessary drama or accusations. We knew backlash was likely, but hoped our transparency would resonate with at least some in the community. Pressing publish on our carefully worded statement felt terrifying yet empowering. I'd reclaimed my voice again, refusing to let Jake's deception continue unchecked. Reaction flooded swiftly. While many expressed support, others defended Jake passionately, accusing us of seeking attention or vengeance. Each criticism stung, yet I held firm, reminding myself our truth deserved acknowledgement, even amid misunderstanding. The campaign responded predictably. Jake publicly dismissed our claims, portraying himself as a victim of personal vendettas. It hurt deeply seeing him twist reality again, yet this time, others began coming forward, quietly confirming similar experiences privately. Jake's reputation, initially strong, started to crumble slowly under the weight of collective truths shared bravely by those he'd hurt. Ultimately, his candidacy failed, not through sensational scandal, but quiet erosion of public trust, a natural consequence of his actions rather than active sabotage. Through it all, Ryan stood steadfast beside me, unwavering in his support. One evening after the campaign ended, we sat quietly, reflecting together on everything. Ryan finally broke the silence gently. "You know, Jenna, you've shown immense courage throughout this. It wasn't easy speaking your truth, especially publicly, but you did so with grace and integrity." I smiled softly, deeply grateful for his recognition. I couldn't let Jake's deceit continue unchallenged, especially knowing others might be affected. "You changed the narrative," Ryan continued earnestly. "Your honesty inspired others. You transformed pain into purpose." His words deeply resonated, solidifying the healing I'd sought for so long. Painful experiences weren't solely destructive, they held transformative power when we reclaimed control, using our voices to advocate for truth, transparency, and justice. Gradually, life settled again into familiar rhythms, deeper, richer, for everything I'd experienced. Marissa remained a friend, our bond uniquely forged through shared hardship. She found her own path forward, dating someone trustworthy, patient, and supportive, much like Ryan was for me. One evening, Ryan and I sat quietly together, enjoying the peaceful familiarity we'd cultivated. He gently squeezed my hand, his voice filled with genuine admiration. "You know, Jenna, despite everything you've endured, you've become someone truly remarkable, stronger, wiser, and genuinely empathetic. I'm proud of who you are." Emotion tightened my throat, gratitude overwhelming me as I whispered softly, "Thank you, Ryan, for helping me realize that strength and vulnerability aren't mutually exclusive." As we sat quietly, watching the sunset cast warm hues across our yard, I felt deeply content. My journey, filled with pain and growth, betrayal and redemption, had ultimately shaped me into someone resilient yet compassionate, strong yet gentle. This journey wasn't just mine, it represented countless others who'd faced betrayal, manipulation, and emotional turmoil. My story offered hope that recovery, strength, and happiness were possible, even after profound hurt. The final chapter hadn't simply been about revenge or vindication, it represented reclaiming voice, redefining identity, and embracing genuine vulnerability. My greatest triumph wasn't exposing Jake or preventing his deceitful leadership, it was finally believing wholeheartedly in my inherent worth, recognizing fully that I deserved every happiness life offered. My revenge had ultimately transformed into profound personal redemption, a lasting testament to strength forged through adversity. After the emotional turmoil of publicly confronting Jake and reclaiming my narrative, life gradually found a new, peaceful rhythm. Ryan and I settled into a season marked by gentle routines, each small moment feeling infinitely precious after everything we'd overcome. Our home, nestled quietly at the edge of Asheville, became my sanctuary, a place where every room carried reminders of healing and growth. Yet, even amidst this newfound peace, an undercurrent of unease lingered, subtle yet persistent. It wasn't about Jake anymore, nor about my relationship with Ryan, which was thriving beautifully. Instead, it stemmed from a deeper internal struggle, one I hadn't fully acknowledged until now. While I'd successfully rebuilt my life outwardly, there were moments when I doubted whether I'd truly forgiven myself for ever allowing Jake's betrayal in the first place. One Sunday afternoon, Ryan and I took a leisurely drive along the Blue Ridge Parkway, our usual escape when life felt heavy or complicated. Rolling mountains stretched endlessly, their peaks brushed by soft clouds, landscapes that seemed to breathe tranquility into my restless heart. Ryan noticed my quietness as we drove, his hand resting gently on mine as he asked softly, "Is something on your mind?" I hesitated, unsure how to express the lingering weight I'd been feeling. Finally, words spilled out slowly, vulnerable and raw. "I've been thinking a lot lately about how far I've come since everything happened. But despite everything, finding love with you, rebuilding trust, I still struggle sometimes with forgiving myself. It feels like part of me still blames myself for being naive, for not seeing Jake clearly." Ryan listened intently, eyes gentle yet serious. Pulling the car into a scenic overlook, he turned fully toward me, his voice deeply sincere. "Jenna, your past experiences don't reflect weakness or naivety, they reflect your willingness to love deeply, trust openly, and take risks for genuine connection. Those are strengths, not flaws." His words resonated powerfully, yet my doubts lingered stubbornly. But why does it still hurt sometimes? Why can't I completely let go of that blame? "Because healing isn't linear," Ryan reminded me gently. "You might carry scars, but those scars don't diminish your worth. They show resilience, growth, and courage." His perspective shifted something inside me profoundly. Perhaps complete healing wasn't about erasing past wounds entirely, but rather integrating those experiences into who I was now, acknowledging pain without allowing it to define me. That conversation became a turning point, prompting deeper reflection and intentional self-forgiveness. I began journaling regularly, pouring out lingering doubts, fears, and self-criticisms onto paper, releasing them from the heavy confines of my mind. Through this practice, I gradually uncovered buried emotions, confronting painful truths I'd previously avoided. Weeks of introspection eventually revealed a surprising realization: I hadn't merely blamed myself for Jake's betrayal, I'd unconsciously internalized his manipulations as proof of some inherent flaw or inadequacy within myself. Realizing this deeply embedded falsehood felt simultaneously painful and liberating. I finally understood the root cause of lingering self-doubt and shame. Determined to challenge these false beliefs head-on, I sought guidance through professional therapy, finding comfort and clarity within those safe, supportive sessions. My therapist helped me untangle emotional knots I'd carried for years, carefully guiding me toward genuine self-compassion. "You've internalized someone else's emotional damage," she gently reminded me during one pivotal session. "Jake's betrayal reflects his brokenness, not yours. Your worth isn't determined by someone else's choices or treatment of you." Her words, so simple yet profoundly impactful, unlocked something deeply buried within me, a genuine realization that my worth remained untouched by past betrayals or disappointments. Slowly, carefully, I began truly forgiving myself, not for making mistakes, but for ever believing those mistakes diminished my inherent value. The more I embraced genuine self-compassion, the lighter I felt emotionally. My relationship with Ryan flourished even further, enriched by my newfound internal peace. My friendships deepened, too, as vulnerability fostered authentic connections. For the first time, I truly recognized that strength wasn't merely resilience through pain, it was vulnerability, openness, and genuine self-acceptance despite life's inevitable hurts. Eventually, another opportunity emerged, one that felt like a deeply meaningful step toward closure and final emotional liberation. An invitation arrived unexpectedly from a local community college. They'd heard my story through social media and wanted me to speak at an upcoming women's empowerment event, sharing openly about overcoming emotional manipulation, reclaiming personal narrative, and rebuilding self-worth. Initially, anxiety surged fiercely at the thought of publicly revisiting such deeply personal wounds again. Yet beneath fear lay a compelling sense of purpose. Perhaps sharing my journey, raw, vulnerable, honest, might empower someone currently trapped within emotional manipulation, isolation, or self-blame. Maybe speaking openly about my struggles would provide validation or hope, offering solace to another woman desperately seeking healing and clarity. After thoughtful reflection and heartfelt conversations with Ryan, I accepted the invitation, recognizing fully the significance of sharing my truth. Preparation became deeply therapeutic, carefully reflecting on pivotal moments, articulating painful emotions honestly yet constructively, distilling complex experiences into clear, meaningful insights. The night before my presentation, nerves swirled relentlessly, doubts resurfacing momentarily. Ryan gently reassured me, holding my hand warmly. "You've come too far, Jenna. Your story deserves to be heard. Someone out there needs your courage right now." His words steadied me, reinforcing the deep significance of my journey beyond personal healing. It now carried potential meaning for others still struggling quietly in darkness. The morning arrived with soft, calming sunlight filtering gently through our windows, filling me with quiet confidence. Arriving early at the venue allowed quiet contemplation before others arrived. As the auditorium filled gradually, seeing faces of women eagerly awaiting connection, understanding, and empowerment bolstered my courage further. Stepping onto stage, heart pounding gently yet confidently, I began sharing openly, carefully articulating painful truths, vulnerable struggles, and transformative growth. Each word spoken felt simultaneously liberating and profoundly purposeful, validating every hardship I'd faced. Watching faces in the audience soften, seeing eyes fill tearfully yet gratefully, solidified the deep significance of sharing raw, genuine vulnerability openly. Afterwards, numerous women approached privately, quietly expressing gratitude through tears, whispered confidences, heartfelt hugs. Their validation deeply affirmed the profound meaning within my experiences. It transformed pain into purposeful guidance, struggles into sources of profound empathy. That evening, returning home emotionally exhausted yet deeply fulfilled, Ryan welcomed me warmly, his pride evident in tender smiles and affectionate gestures. Later, wrapped comfortably within soft blankets together, he whispered gently, "I'm incredibly proud of you, Jenna. Your courage today impacted countless lives." Emotion tightened my throat, tears welling gratefully as I replied softly yet sincerely, "Thank you for believing in my strength, even when I struggled believing in myself." As we sat quietly together, peace settled deeply within me, true emotional liberation finally achieved through genuine self-forgiveness, profound self-compassion, and purposeful sharing of vulnerabilities once painfully hidden. In the months following my speech, invitations continued arriving frequently, from universities, women's groups, domestic abuse organizations, each opportunity offering deeper fulfillment through meaningful connections fostered by shared vulnerability. Slowly, my journey evolved beautifully beyond personal redemption alone. It became advocacy, awareness, community empowerment. Eventually, inspired profoundly by meaningful interactions with countless women seeking guidance or validation, I transitioned professionally toward counseling certification, channeling painful personal experiences purposefully toward empowering others struggling similarly. Ryan supported enthusiastically, understanding fully the profound significance behind my choice. It represented complete emotional reclamation beyond revenge, beyond vindication, transforming profound pain into lasting, meaningful purpose. Our marriage strengthened beautifully throughout every stage, grounded deeply by mutual respect, unconditional support, genuine intimacy nurtured through vulnerability shared openly without fear or shame. Eventually welcoming our daughter, Emily Grace, expanded joy further, a profound testament that happiness remained beautifully possible despite past traumas. Holding Emily gently for the first time, overwhelming gratitude surged fiercely. I'd finally achieved full emotional liberation, complete self-forgiveness, profound healing beyond merely surviving trauma. I was thriving authentically, purposefully, joyfully, my scars beautifully integrated within deeper empathy, greater wisdom, richer compassion shared openly, empowering countless others toward their own healing journeys. Ultimately, my greatest victory wasn't revenge, it was transforming betrayal into profound growth, reclaiming voice unapologetically, embracing genuine vulnerability courageously, forgiving myself completely, and discovering lasting purpose through empowering others still quietly struggling within darkness I'd once endured alone.